And that was the AIDS ride, and Dave was our water guy, and that was great. Boy, was I in great shape back then. Those were the days. And you know, it's interesting, I wasn't a vegetarian then, but on the second AIDS ride, I signed up for the vegetarian meal. You end up with 1 million bands around your arm, meaning, you know, you've been checked by a cardiologist, you've checked with this, that, you know, but I had the vegetarian band on my arm. It just occurred to me, so I was able to eat the vegetarian options that were there. Thank you for letting me join you here today. I really didn't have anywhere to go. This was the first Thanksgiving that, as my mother would say, I was just going to be wandering the streets. This was the first Thanksgiving where no one invited me to their house. And my friend Eve, she usually invites me, but she had nowhere to go. So thank you for letting Eve come too. I said, you want to go eat vegetarian with me? And I was invited to work today. Work invited me to come over, so I was invited to come to work. It's been interesting. I do get a lot of invitations for Thanksgiving and dinner, whatever. But it's been interesting that my friends, since I became a vegetarian about a little less than a year and a half ago, that I'm not such a popular dinner guest anymore. Did you notice that in the beginning? And I think because invariably someone is new at the table and they see me not eating meat and they say, oh, you don't eat meat? And I say, no, I'm a vegetarian. Really? Why? And my friends go, oh no, God. Oh, please don't get her started. Can we just eat in peace without her going on and on about animal cruelty? But it's interesting because they always will say to you, are you a vegetarian for dietary reasons? Are you doing it for your health? And you say, no, I'm doing it because of animal cruelty. And oh, they just, you have to. And then you hit them with, I don't want to consume suffering, and a pall comes across the table. But you have to, because you want to get them to start thinking about that. And it does help you in terms of dietary issues as well, but it really is an animal cruelty issue. And people don't want to hear about that. They will say to me, a girlfriend was just in town, I hadn't seen her in a couple of years, and I said, you know, I've become a vegetarian, and she was nice. She said, you know, you were always heading in that direction. I said, yeah, and it was nice to finally cross over, you know, into the other side. And I said, you know, I can't even, she goes, no, do you eat dairy? And I said, sometimes if it's a birthday cake, I'll eat it. And I know there's eggs in there because it's a birthday cake. So I'm not quite vegan, but I said, I just can't eat an egg. It's disgusting to me. And she said, stop, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And I said, you know, you do know. These people who say they don't want to know, they do know. If you're afraid that it's too horrible to hear, then it's because you know that it's so horrible. So what don't you get? You know, that's what I want to say to them. What don't you get? You know it's bad. Why aren't you doing something about it? It's interesting because so many people suspend, I think, the connection, and I understand that. Again, it wasn't that long ago that I was on the other side. They suspend the connection between an animal and food because food on its own, once it's cooked, is its own entity. And it's very primal, and it's something that is traditional, as we know on Thanksgiving, and it's something that they're used to, and it's hard to break sort of those cultural traditions. I was invited to my brother's because he lives next door to me. And he is, you want to come on over? And I said, well, you know, what are you all doing? They're frying 2 turkeys. And my sister-in-law is making her traditional stuffing, which comes with like 30 pounds of sausage. So I'm hoping that ambulances are standing by because they're either going to set themselves on fire or have a heart attack. So it's one or the other. I'm waiting for my cell phone to ring. But people don't make that connection. And yet, they will make the connection. I traveled in Vietnam 14 years ago, and I knew when I went over there not to eat any meat because it was probably dog meat. And if you try to serve someone dog meat right now, they would be repulsed. If you told them that the fur they were wearing was a cat, they'd be repulsed. They make that connection, but they won't make the connection between a pig, a cow, and that animal's right to live and to live without suffering. They won't make it. It's interesting doing the Going Green the last 3 years. As people become concerned about global warming and the environment, we have information that we can give them that does give them pause. Because animal agriculture, as you know, is one of the top polluters and one of the top contributors to greenhouse gases. The UN reports that livestock contribute more greenhouse gases than all of the transportation combined. The USDA, that's our government, and I read Skinny Bitch, which doesn't have many good things to say about the USDA. It says that the American meat industry produces more than 60 million tons of waste each year. That is 5 tons for every citizen. Livestock production uses 8% of the world's precious fresh water. It contributes 55% to land erosion. It is the major cause of deforestation, and 37%, more than a third of pesticides used on this planet are used in animal agriculture. The Breast Cancer Fund believes that young girls are going into early puberty because of the growth hormones that are fed to livestock and are leaching into our environment. We are producing more meat as more developing countries prosper. China and India are coming to the fore now, and they want to eat meat, and they are producing meat. And here's another thing you can tell your carnivore friends. They don't know where their meat's coming from. You know, there is no country of origin law in this country for that meat. Look at all the lovely things China has given us lately. It's poisoned our pets, it's poisoned their own babies, and now they got melamine coming in, you know, and lead in all of the toys that were coming over for our children. China is producing meat that is coming into this country, and the Clinton administration tried to get a country of origin requirement on meat, and Congress wouldn't pass it, and of course it has languished because the Bush administration didn't push for it. So people don't know. Central America has become another huge place to produce meat, and they are destroying the rainforest there because they can make more money by grazing livestock than they can off of the rainforest. Tell that to your carnivore friends. I don't have many left. I'm a tad obnoxious these days. In the 1950s, the world produced 44 million tons of meat annually. Last year, we produced 284 million tons. It was a record. We eat 200 pounds of meat. Well, we don't. They eat 200 pounds of meat every year. We lead the world in meat consumption. And the easiest thing I say to people when I give green reports, and I give speeches to green communities, and I say, just cut your consumption of meat. If you sit here and you worry about putting a solar panel on your roof, it's expensive, you can't do geothermal, you don't like the light from the CFLs, you're not ready to trade in your car for a Prius, that's fine. Just don't eat meat every day. Why don't you just eat meat twice a week? You just stop eating meat. Cut your consumption in half, you're doing huge things for going green. And that is something that people, this speech, when you tell them this, it is palatable to them. And